let's try this again. I apologize for that. I had a little error with OBS, had some type of encoding error. Apologize for that. So now, welcome back to my channel. It's 8:15. It's October 14th. As I was saying before, QQQ in the 3-day balance. SPY broke out with the help of bank earnings. Earnings season has started on Friday. So that kicked off earnings season. All right. Now, let's get right into the mix here. And welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile, volume profile to find structure in the market along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That's my edge. It's how I look at the markets. All right. Then once the markets open, that's a whole different data that I don't know yet. Nobody knows yet, right? So that's a whole different analysis that has to happen. All right. So hopefully you can join me every day at 8:10 a.m. All right. Have a cup of coffee, have a cup of tea, listen to me in your car, whatever you want. You get the market recap, you get market news, you get leaders and laggards, why the market's doing what it's doing. And of course, we go over the main event at 8:30 a.m. I do the Nasdaq and the ES futures analysis, and that sets up day trades for me during the day. All right. And hopefully you like what you see, you give me a big thumbs up. All right. Now, once that market opens, right, there's a whole nother analysis that happens. I look at my market internals and a bunch of other things that make me take a day trade and put risk on. All right. Now, when I do that and I make trades that are very educational, I post them on my YouTube Shorts account. All right. I put them on my X account. All right. And I post them to my TikTok account. Okay. And please check those out. And that is on X, that's Gonzo719. All right. And of course, on TikTok, that's Gonzo719 Trader. Check those out. Very educational videos for trading, and you can see the criteria I use to enter. Okay. Now, let's get into futures watch list. Let's see what's going on this morning. All right. Not sure who's with me today. Maybe Rosita. K Trader made an appearance last week. I haven't seen Muhammad in a while. And Luis, G-Man. Who else we got? Pancake, Pacific Northwest. Maybe she or he's at the gym. I still don't know if that's a she or a he. However, doesn't matter. There's Chief. All right, let's get into the watch list here. And Ether is up 3.55. Bitcoin is making a move, up 2.81. The 10-year yield continues to rise, up to 4.11. Yield up 1.114%. The dollar continues to rise, up 0.40. Nasdaq's up 0.31. The VIX is up 0.29. We're still over a 20 VIX. ES is up 0.17. The Russell is flat. The Dow is down 0.17. Gold is down 0.28. 30-year bonds being sold, down 0.60. Silver is down 1.18%. Crude is down on China demand worries, down 1.93%. They are down to $74.10 a barrel. Okay, that's what's going on with futures. Now let's move over to the Mag 7 Plus here and see who's up. Now, of course, Bitcoin and Coinbase. Coinbase is going to move with Bitcoin. That is up 2.68%, followed by Tesla. Now, Tesla took a nosedive after the Robotaxi event. They're getting some love today. Now, Nvidia, I saw, got a price target raise today, I believe from Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, I think to like a 150 something. We'll look at that later. All right, so they're on the move. They're above 135. They're at 136 right now, up 1.09%. Broadcom Semi, all right, up 0.87. Meta's up 0.70. Apple's up 0.55. So people liking tech today. Now remember, tech's been in that 3-day balance. Let's see if it can break out. It's probably doing that right now, but we'll see, okay? Snowflake has made a move. All right, that's been getting beaten down for a while, so there's not really much laggards here. And let's see, is there a laggard? Yes, there is. Boeing has just been getting hurt. They haven't come to terms with the strike, and then there's a delayed, I believe, of one of their jets or their airlines. We'll look at that a little bit. So they're just continuing to fall, Boeing. All right, they got earnings coming up as well. All right, let's move on to the top sector stocks here. And we got Qualcomm. So semi's getting love today. Okay, they're up 0.66. Salesforce up 0.28. Eli Lilly up 0.17. There's not much up there. Who's down? Chevron. Crude pulling back. So Chevron's going to be down. Exxon's down 0.52. Uber made a nice move last week, down 0.76. And Cat has got a downgrade today, and they are down 1.77%. 1.77%. All right, let's look at the swing trade list. I'm assuming we're going to see some Bitcoin related stuff here up. MicroStrategy, that's been on a meteoric rise, even more than Bitcoin. That is up 5.3%. SoFi is kind of, they're switching places while I'm speaking, is up 5.33%. Okay. Mara, the mining stock, up 4.85. Riot, 3.09. Bitcoin ETFs up 2.81. Hood, Robinhood's up 2.02%. Affirm got another upgrade. They're up 1.78%. Bosch Health up 1.26. Western Digital up 1.22. Supermicro Computers up 1.17. ARM Semi up 1.08. And there's my baby Vertiv. It's been on a move and it's been working. Woof. Love when I bought that dip, all right? Up 1.04. And then SoundHound up 1.02. Okay, now let's look at laggards. We have Canada Goose, I believe, got a downgrade. Okay, now China, some of these China stocks taking a nosedive a little bit today. All right, so Baba down 1.76, Las Vegas Sands down 1.46, The Win down 1.38, Amgen is 1.3 down 1.32%. Alcoa, who's got earnings coming up, I believe, it's aluminum. That's zero point 0.8 down 0.85. Donald Trump down 0.79. There's not much. Devon Energy, Connor, there's not much to talk about there. Let's go back to the top sectors. Now we go to the guts of the market. All right, this is how I base my day trades. Okay. Now we have semiconductors up 0.44, leading the pack, followed by technology, the most heavy-weighted sector in the S&P 500, up 0.36, followed by utilities, only up 0.06. All right. Now, is there a laggard? Well, yeah, there is. Energy, because crude is taking a pulling back with China demand worries. All right, they are down 0.68%. The energy sector. All right, energy sector is down 0.68%. Okay. Now, what do we go to next? We go to news. All right, we're gonna go to some news, some economic calendar, some downgrades, some upgrades. We'll look at earnings this week. All right. Let's look at our economic calendar together. Okay. Now, we got a lot of Fed speak this week. Today, we got Fed Kashkari at 9 a.m., 3 p.m. Fed Waller, 5 p.m. Fed Kashkari. All right. But Fed Kashkari speaking before the market open. All right. Tomorrow, we have Fed Daily, Fed Kugler, Fed Bostic. All right. But Fed Daily is 11:30. Fed Kugler at 1 p.m. Wednesday, you don't have Fed speak. Thursday, that's our initial jobless claims. Philly Fed. What else we have there? Oh, crude inventory. Interesting. Crude inventories is on Thursday. I wonder why that is. Friday, we have more Fed speak. So a light data week, but Fed speak. Okay. Fed Bostic right at the market open. Fed Kashkari at 10 a.m. Friday's going to be a lot of Fed speak during the market. All right. A lot of Fed speak during the market. All right. All right. That's that. Now I think we can go right into earnings. Okay. And look at earnings today, this week. Nothing today. That's really important. Now, tomorrow, okay, before the open, Walgreens, Boots Alliance, United Healthcare, Citibank, Bank of America, Johnson & Johnson, Progressive Insurance, Charles Schwab, Goldman Sachs. So you got healthcare, you have financials, PNC, State Street. So you have a mix, right? After the close tomorrow, United Airlines, Interactive Brokers. Okay, what else here? Omnicom Group. So that's tomorrow. All right. Now for the rest of the week, you have more financial semis. Okay, semi-related, financial related. All right, for the rest of the week. I'm just trying to see. Now Netflix obviously is on Thursday after the close. That's a pretty big one. Okay, so we'll talk about that as the week goes on. Now let's get into some news here. All right, so Boeing. Stock fell 2.4% with staff at the aerospace giant set to find out more details about its plan to slash around 17,000 positions, approximately 10% of its global headcount. It will also delay the first deliveries, there's the delivery I was talking about, of its 777X plane by a year and book $5 billion in losses. So that is tanking the stock as we speak. I do eventually feel like that's going to be a buy after, because there's so much bad news. I mean, how much can it go down? I mean, I don't know when it's gonna bottom. I'm just saying. Seems that's what happens to Boeing. It gets these bad news, and then it spikes and it rips. So Tesla stock rose 1.2 after bouncing after the sharp sell last week, as the EV manufacturer's robotaxi event last week disappointed investors with a lack of details. All right, Caterpillar stock fell 2.4 at the Morgan Stanley downgrade. It's a downgrade I was talking about. The industrial heavyweight to underweight from equal weight, saying its shares could fall nearly 20%. Interesting. Canada Goose. Now this is what it's talking about. Stock fell 4.1 after Wells Fargo downgraded. All right. So there's the downgrade. Let's go to some more news. Let's see if there's something else here that we can talk about here. Hundreds of Hilton hotel workers walk off the job in Seattle. All right. That's what's going on there. I know they had strikes earlier a couple months ago. Let's see. Like I said, I'm only going to talk about stuff that I feel like is really, really going to be moving markets here. All right, looks like Boeing, JP Morgan cuts target price to 195 from 235. Let's see. JP Morgan Chase Piper Sandler raises target price from 240 from 226. Wells Fargo Raymond James raises target price from 72 from 69. Okay. Now let's look at the juice. Let's see what the juice has for us. I don't really think that has anything for us. Let's go to the upgrades, downgrades. Let's look at upgrades first. Let's see if there's been any updates here. All right, let's look at upgrades. So upgrades, Affirm. I talked about that earlier. Affirm upgrade. Sentinel One is a cybersecurity stock. They got upgraded. All right, Upstart got upgraded. Let's go to downgrades. Amgen downgraded. Talked about that earlier. All right, let's see who else got down. Caterpillar. We talked about that. Duolingo got a downgrade. Let's see. Canada Goose downgrade. We talked about earlier. Okay, Yelp got a downgrade. All right, now let's look at initiations. Initiations. Nothing in here I want to talk about. Price target changes. Let's talk about raises first. Let's see. Walmart got a target raise 81 to 90, liking that. American Express target raise 265 to 300. I don't see any lowers here. So this list is not that great. All right. But we talked about all the movers and the shakers already. Okay, we did that already. So I think we can go to daily charts now. Let's do daily charts. All right, let's look at it. Now, Chief, you were very nimble because I did have an error in my feed, and you must have got the new notification. So happy you're here. That might have shook some other people off when I had that error. Hopefully, they have the wherewithal to come to this feed. So we'll see. All right, we'll see. Now, let's look at SPY. Let's look at the SPY together. All right, so if you watch me, we got the express chart here. And we got orange is last week's highs and lows. Okay. Now remember, last week, what I mean is not last week, but the week before. Okay, so what did it do? The market pushed up, held the previous week's highs, and pushed up. Pushed up, right? Broke last month's, the white is last month's highs. So all-time highs, right? Made 580.33 the new all-time high. Okay. came out of this big balance area, pulled back, and then got bought up. Okay, above all moving averages, 90 MA daily, the 20 minute super 20-day simple moving average, 50-day simple moving average, 100-day, 200-day. They're all fanned out. That's usually a very bullish sign when all of these are in a row and they are, you know, 9, 20, 50, 100, when they're all fanned out like that perfectly. That's a pretty good sign. Okay, where are we at now? 580.56. We are 580.56. So that means we're gapping up. Of course we are. Today. All right, let's look at the futures to see that. There we are. All right, so in futures, we're already seeing last week's highs and lows. Okay, right here. So, like I said, that's what we're doing. We're gapping up a little bit. All right, now we have no resistance to talk of. So all-time high trading is always not the easiest because you have no resistance to talk about. Okay, now moving on to the Qs. All right, the Qs, different story. Different story. Okay, you can see they have not broken out. They have resistance where 493 to 494. Okay, right here. Now what is that? That is the previous month's highs. Previous month's highs. You can see they broke the previous week's range. So here they held it, but then it just got resistance right at the previous month's highs. And you have kind of like an inverse head and shoulders kind of going on here. Okay, so the breakout point is around 494. Okay, 494. All-time highs is 503.52. So it's still relatively weak here. So if we break here, I could see us moving up to maybe 500, 500.76, and eventually probably tagging here. Okay, let's look at where they're at now, because I believe it's up 494. Let's call it 90. 494.90. 494.90. So right here, we're gapping up pretty much a little bit. All right, gapping up. Can we hold? Can we hold last month's highs? That's really the key. All right, let's look at futures. Give us a little easier look at what's been going on here. Okay, so in futures, this big level is around 205.30. All right, 205.30. So right here, all right, that's the level to see if you can break out of it. So we're just in balance here, queuing up for a move. Okay, all-time highs in the futures is 212.37. 212.37. Okay, so we'll have to see, because this has been relatively weak. Look, it's not by the highs at all. All right, not by the highs at all. All right, now just to give you a quick little view of the Dow. The Dow just made all-time highs. Look at that. The Dow just made all-time highs. Now, the Dow is heavily financial based. Okay, so Goldman Sachs is the largest holding. Not the largest financial hold. Largest holding is actually United Healthcare, but financials is the most weighted sector in the Dow. So look at the Dow, right? And then you have IWM, which is the Russell, not at all-time highs, right? They're 2028, but it just broke this downtrend. Now this is tricky for me with the Russell because the 10-year yield is rising, and the Russell is more sensitive to the rate. So it's a little like, right? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. All right, let's go over to our triple-headed monster and look at that together. Okay, we'll look at the 10-year yield first. That 10-year yield continues to rise. Now, if you look to the left here, this is poor structure right here. So right here, I feel like we can go up to like this 200-day moving average, 4.16, 4.2. I feel like that's going to be really resistant Okay, we still have rate cuts happening, right? Now, I feel like this is just profit taking. Okay, I don't think these yields are going much higher than 4.2. I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong here, but just this is kind of meteoric. So bonds usually don't move like this. So I have to see. I have to see. Okay, this just means people are selling the 10-year yield. They're selling 10-year notes. Okay, which is fine. All right. So let's go over to the second head here. The dollar. That dollar was just trying to bottom out and eventually bottomed out, and it's kind of making a move with the 10-year yield. Okay, really bottomed out with this swing low over here. Kind of broke it and then just couldn't go through it. Right. Almost at the 100-day moving average now. All right, so we're looking to the left. Resistance is right around 103.31. Expected to get resistance right here, the 100-day moving average. We'll have to see. Usually a stronger dollar is not good for commodities and not good for equities. Okay, we'll have to see what happens here. Okay, now let's go to the fear factor here in the VIX. All right, the VIX with this election coming around the corner, we're at all-time highs and we have a 20.56 VIX. I don't see that. I don't know the stats on that, but I don't know how. That's probably not very common when you're going all-time highs. You're at a 20.56 VIX. Like I said, we have an election in less than a month. Okay, an election less than a month. So this is 30 days out of fear. 20 VIX, 16 VIX is a 1% expected move, plus or minus 1% expected move, plus or minus in the S&P 500. So keep that in mind. Should get some nice ranges. All right. I think we're done with the triple headed monster. Now we can move on to the main event, and that is our market profile and our volume profile. Okay. Why don't we do that? All right. So first thing we do is look at structure. We'll look at structure. Structure is king. All right. Let's look at our profile. So we got value area right here. 70% of the trading volumes happened in this area. Okay, price is above the value area. Now we have excess up here, right? Okay, so what I do, just so to make sure everybody understands, is I track the most traded prices on the real-time trading hours. So this is 24-hour chart, okay, basically overnight and real-time trading hours. Okay, so I like to track the real-time traders. So the real-time trading hours actually has a 58.60. It actually moved the most traded price of the week all the way up here. That is bullish, folks. And price is hanging out above it at 58.70. And we are gapping up very, 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 very tiny. Okay? Very tiny gap. Okay, now let's look at our inventory. Here's our open of the overnight. That's the only short activity to this much long. You're looking at about 90% net long, and you're at the top of the session with the most traded price up here. Okay? With the most traded price up there. Now, what do we do? What did we do on Friday? Look at this. It's pretty much an open test drive, open drive. Look. So look, that's the only short activity. That little baby, little baby down, which is not much, and then drove up, creating single prints. Okay, and then the 70% of the trade happened up here. That's very bullish, and the most traded price was right here. Okay, closed right there. Okay, that's very bullish. Very bullish. Now, does it have poor foundation here? Yes. Look at that little thin volume. It does have that. Okay, and we will talk about that. Now that's Elfie. Just say hi to Elfie here. We'll talk about Elfie in a sec. All right, so what do we have here? Okay, so this is setting up for a little bit of a correction, possibly. Okay, now let's talk about some key levels. All right, let's talk about some key levels. We have demand all up in here. So obviously, those are all pullback levels. Those are all pullback levels. Okay, and we know everyone's long basically from here, basically from 57.93, right here. Really, no one's gotten hurt, and then bought up, pushed up, bought up, pushed up, right? So corrections or pullbacks are normal. All right. So the levels I'm looking at is that 50, what did I say? 58.60. That's the most traded price of Friday, the most traded price of the week. And it lines up really with some demand. Okay. So that's an area for the buyers to defend. Now we also have a weak low here around 58.50. So the value area low of Friday and the overnight session kind of line up right here. 58.50. All right, bulls nearly need to defend that because what's below that? We got Elfie. All right. So picture this is the elephant and this is the toothpick holding up that elephant. Okay. Now if the bulls defend it, hey, that toothpick's strong. If the market is weak, we will push all the way back down here and clean out this poor structure. Okay. Now do I know that's going to happen? Nope. That's why you have to analyze when the market's doing it. Okay. That's why you have to analyze when the market's doing it. Okay. Now, the 50% retracement of Friday would be 58.45. Also kind of lines up with this kind of 58.50. All right, so you just got to be careful. You don't want to get faked out. Sometimes it's like a bear trap. Okay, so right now everything's bullish. Structure, bullish price action. Okay, I don't see any chinks in this armor right now. All right, so that's what we're looking at here for TS. Now you can see we broke out of this little balance here. Boop, and now we're holding it. It's all bullish. Can't see anything else about it, right? And we already did the most traded price of the week moved up here. There's a lot of volume that was here. So it's bullish. Can't argue that. Even if I said, oh, the economy's really weak, the job numbers are jacked up, like this election's coming, we should fall. Like, I mean, I could think all that, but the price is telling me otherwise, right? So let's go and do some scenarios here. Let's look at some scenarios together. Everybody's very, very bullish. Okay. Now, of course, that could mean everybody's very bullish. That could be a bearish sign, but we have to talk about structure and what we see. So we have a gap. We have a poor high, okay, which is basically a double top. Traders got poor location on longs here, which this should be corrected. I mean, this doesn't count in the overnight, all right? So you got a tiny gap, okay, tiny gap. And if I want to get long, like I said, what do I want to see? You could push up a little bit, come through here. Now, what will happen here? Remember, we're almost 90% net long. What will happen if we come through this most traded price? We should correct a little bit into this demand, into this 58.60 level, this area here, okay? It's really what I'm looking at, this area, okay? Now, of course, if it comes in here and we start to get to support, you know, we can just go. So how high? I don't know. Let's say 5,900. I don't know. There's no resistance. So that could happen. All right, so anywhere in this area, remember, we got the weak low, 58.50. That's the last line of defense that I really want to be long. So it can come down there and even do this, boop, and we can go up. Okay, that's really, really what I'm like saying. Like, all right, bulls got to stay in control, probably. Right now, we could come down to this demand and find buyers as well, but I really would like to get long up here. Okay, now as far as the bear side, this is where it gets tough. Into the when there's no really overhead supply, there's no resistance, right? So remember, we do have a couple things in the advantage of sellers. We're 90% net long. Okay, we're at the top of the range, and the most traded price is here. that means most likely they are longs. Okay, so if the market does go boop, go through this, I would pretty much say you're going to probably hit at least that 58.60. Now, what we do from here, you have to take out these demands and you got to hold. And then you got Elfie. Then you got very, very poor foundation. That toothpick is right here. If the market is weak, okay, that's the key. Elfie will show up and that weight will start to break that toothpick. Okay, so if we hold and the market is weak, we could definitely take out that structure, hit Friday's lows, and now there's a big demand zone here. If you take that out, there's more single prints below this. All right, you got kind of like 58.11 would be like another, like, let's see, it's value area low for the week. If you take that out, yeah, you could cut through these singles and maybe we go back to 57. What is this? 57 and 77. That's the most traded price of the month. I don't know. It's just a scenario. Okay. Now, am I a fan of shorts right now? They are going to be hard to come by unless, like I said, we do something like this with a weak market. Then I have more confidence. Okay. It's not the easiest thing, all-time highs. Okay. It's just not. Never is. Okay. Never is. And that was your, I don't even know if I put it up before. That was your ES. Okay. Now, let's move over to the NASDAQ. And you can see the difference. You can see the difference. Okay. Let's talk about structure. Let's talk about structure. Let's bring this down a little more. Okay. Now, as far as structure goes, you can see this is a little more balanced here. You got value area right here, value area low, value area low, value area high. All right. And we got some little excess to the bottom here. Okay. You can see the Qs have kind of been in this range and haven't been able to break it. Okay. Now, what do the Qs do? They move their most traded price up of the week to 204.40 right here. Right there. And price is here. You are gapping up. Now, notice this. You got to notice this. We were here once before. This is a gap right here. That is a gap. An unfilled gap above. And that will be very important today. Okay, because if the market's real strong, that's a void, right? In the market, a gap. So we could very well push right up and fill that gap. Now, if the gap is resistant, that is bearish. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay, so, but the structure right now is bullish. It's bullish. All right. And we're at the end of this supply zone right now. If you can see all the resistance this has been, and now we're kind of breaking out a little bit. We'll have to see what the Qs do. Okay, what the Qs do. Okay, now, what do we do on Friday? It looks like the Qs pushed down a little bit and then drove up, and then that was the value area, right? Most traded price of Friday right here, price right here, so it's all bullish. Really nothing bearish to say about this price structure, all right, at all. Really nothing to say. Now, the interesting part is the most traded price of the overnight is still at the lows here, but it's building value up here. Okay, so in this case, it has a decent gap. So 204.94 is Friday's highs. All right, here's Friday's lows, here's the overnight lows, here's the overnight highs. So let's talk about gap rules real quick. Okay, so we are gapping up into a gap. Okay, so number one most bullish, and I don't play this at all, is a gap and go. We just open and we push. Do we fill that gap? I don't know, right? Now, second most, number two, is you fail to fill the gap and you go up, right? Number three, you fill that gap and go up, right? So that's number three. Now, number four is not very bullish. It's if the price came back into range. came back into Friday's range. That is me showing you the buyers are not as strong. Doesn't mean you can't jump off. It just means that, okay, this is going to be a correction. It's not very bullish like the other three. All right, so there's your gap rules. Now, okay, now the inventory is not as bullish as the ES. Now look at the inventory. Here's the open. You have this much short to this much long. That's only about 65% net long. So that doesn't, you don't have that inventory like you did in the ES. Okay, ES is a little more long, net long, about 95%. All right. Now we're at the edge of this supply. Okay. So the level to look at today is 204.40, right? So you got the gap fill here in 204.40. I think you wanted, and you got a big demand zone here. You just want to see this defended. You just want to see if we come back and pull back. We could jump off for the gap, but you just want to see if this gets defended. Okay, that gap, people are probably eyeing this gap up, and it looks very juicy, right? Qs have been relatively weak. Can this change? Can they join the rest of the sectors? Okay, specifically XLK I'm talking about. All right, can they join the mix? Right, because all the other heavyweight sectors have been moving. Well, that's not true. Okay, XLF, XLI are like at all-time highs. XLC, its communications, is kind of ready for a breakout. XLY is kind of coiling up. XLV is now pushed down to healthcare is kind of pulled back, but it's kind of now bottoming out. So we'll have to see. All right, semis too can start getting into this mix. All right, now enough of that. We're gonna get right into scenarios. All right, let's talk about scenarios. Here we go. It's gonna be all about the gap, all about that big 204.40 level. Okay, so let's start with the bull case. Oh, that's pretty big. All right, let's start with the bull case. All right, so we have our gap fill, 204.94. All right, that's number one. We can move up, push right here, hold it, and then you try to fill that gap. That gap fills about the 207. Okay, so 207, write that down. That's the gap fill. Okay, at around 207.45 maybe, that's the beginning of supply. That could be the end of the move today. All right, now let's look at this. Okay, let's look at this. That's the gap fill. All right, that could definitely just happen. Boom, touch this breakout level, and then you're off to the races. Now, if the market's super strong, hey, that looks like a good one. Okay, that looks like a good one. Now, what can happen also? Okay, remember, the 204.40 is a very important level. Okay, so if we did fill the gap, and we pulled into this demand, and if 204.40 held, even if you went under it, doesn't find acceptance below it, higher low, you can start working yourself up to 207, fill that gap. Possibly 207, like I said, 45, the beginning of a supply zone. Okay? Now, underneath the overnight low, underneath, right here, is pretty much weak port structure. Not as weak as ES, but weak. Okay? So the level you're going to look at is 203.82 around. Okay? You just don't want the market to break that. All right? Because you're going to go lower. But so this is like something where this area gets defended. We move up. I'm bullish. That's it. Any kind of acceptance below 204.40, like around here, is bearish. So this is the only things I'm probably interested in. Now, don't get me wrong. You can come right into this level and bounce. But this is kind of like what I'd more be interested in, right? Because this is there's a lot of shorts in here that have not felt pain yet. All right, so now we'll talk about the shorts. Now, here's the difference, right? In the Qs, we do have overhead supply. We're almost using this whole supply zone up right now, okay, as we speak. So, like I said, this is where this gap becomes very important. this gap zone becomes very important. Okay, pay attention. Okay, we're gapping up right now into a gap. Okay, so if, and this is a naked VPOC, this is very important as well. All a naked VPOC means, they also call it a version VPOC, okay, means that it's a most traded price of a day, that it's never been tested, it's never been touched. It's just never been touched. Okay, so that usually acts as a magnet. So I'm going to use this in a scenario. Okay, so what if we push up, hit this VPOC, this naked VPOC, it's in a gap, remember, it's in a gap, and we get resistance here into the gap, right? And say the market is not as strong. Well, resistance in a gap is bearish, okay? And if we start to push down, you could fill the gap, okay? Work your way down now to the most traded price of Friday and that most traded price of the week, 204.40. I would expect to not slice through this, okay? But if we're talking bearish, you'd have to break this demand, right? And see if you can hold under 204.40. If you do find acceptance, there's LP will come into the mix and see if it can take out this balance lows here. Let's just call it 203.01 right there. If you break that, there is a large volume node here, high volume node 202.50, 202.50 with a big demand. Okay, that could be the end. But if you break that, right here is the most traded price of the month, 201.50. Right. There's a lot of high volumes. You can see it here. There's a lot of high volume. It'd be hard to push through all of that. I mean, you could land and end up at 250. Under that is bad, 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 bad. I don't know if we go that low. Okay. This is just, like I said, resistance in the gap zone, in the gap, unfilled gap, would be bearish. How bearish? I don't know. But that's the scenario that I'm looking for. Okay. It'd be nice if you get in here and then, hey, everything else is cream on the top, a cherry on the top, right? You might just get boom bought up here, but you got in here, great. Okay, great. Now that gap zone, so everybody knows, starts at 205.20 and goes to 207.03. Write it down if you're looking at futures. Okay, now that is it for me, folks. All right, so I'm back this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that analysis. I don't know if I shook off other people because I had that little hiccup in the beginning of my feed. I know Rosita was here. Not sure who else joined. All right. Say hi if you didn't, or were, or whatever. Or if you're here for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So if you did enjoy that, please give me a big thumbs up. All right. That would mean a lot. I want to head towards 200K. I think I'm at 195 subscribers right now. That would be amazing to get more subscribers. So please subscribe. Set an alert. All right. And of course, you can follow me on X at Gonzo719. All right. And you can also follow me on TikTok at Gonzo719Trader. All right. So we got our plan today. We got our plan. That NASDAQ looks very tempting. Okay. Very tempting. That should be a nice move if it gets strength. Now, as we're speaking, it just took out that supply zone. All right. So that's bullish. And now we just have to see what happens in the market. All right, we really have to see, because if tech gets going, obviously it's going to pull everything up with it. Okay. All right. Have a great day, everybody.